Hi, I'm David Brothers, and I'm here with Jimmie Robinson, creator of Bomb Queen, Five Weapons, and several other books. Jimmy, I just want to start from the beginning. What's your history with comics? When did you first start reading them?
Oh geez, I actually got in kind of late. I didn't start early like some people. I got in, I guess, late teens, and then for a while I got out and I was skateboarding and all kind of things, and I don't know. Some of my earliest stuff was in my teens, and my mom was bringing me comics
Hmm.
because I was doing stuff. I would draw at home, but I didn't actually go out to comic book stores and all that stuff. But my mom worked with somebody who actually owned a comic book store, as kind of their hobby of sorts.
Wow.
And he saw my work, and he would give her books to then bring to me when she came home from work. And he would put like little post-its on it and stuff, like notice the inking here, see the color there, see this artist here. It was interesting. He's like a comic book angel, and I've never met the guy. I don't know. That was my first real
That's
introduction.
amazing, because that's
Yeah,
almost like a mentorship at the same time.
yeah. I mean, he was helping me out in a way. It was kind of weird, and but his store is gone now, and I don't know. I have no idea. He's just an angel. This history comic book angel.
He served his purpose, and he returned to heaven.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. He's gone.
So you were drawing before you started reading comics?
Yeah, I was drawing my little version of what I thought comics were like. I would see stuff on TV. I liked it, so I draw a picture, and then I draw another picture after that. And after that, and I didn't even know I was making sequential art. I was just trying to make what I saw on television, like the Flintstones and
Wow.
Speed Racer and Kimbo the White Lion and stuff like that. And I was just following along with that. And I just didn't have a whole comic book culture or anything in my head. I just was following what I thought a comic book should look like. I've seen a few.
Yeah.
And so, I was just following that model. But no one had ever sat me down and said, "No, Jimmy, these are the comics, and these are the artists, these are the publishers. This is where you go buy the comics, and these are the people that read the comics." No, none of that. It was just my little world, and I was just drawing them.
So are you entirely self-taught? Did you ever take classes or anything?
I am entirely self-taught. I mean, I had a few. It was an elementary school I went to called Mosswood Arts. It was an arts magnet program in Oakland, California, and it. For about 3 or 4 years I was there, but I mean, we're talking elementary.
Yeah.
It was nothing like that. And like I said, we just made our own little books, and we draw these little pictures and staple them together like zines and say, "Here's my book." Ooh, that's kind of the end of it. And
That's cool, though. I mean, it's interesting because I feel like a lot of people discover comics early and then decide to draw comics, but it sounds like you kind of had like a parallel development.
yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. It was a parallel development. I knew they were out there. I just did not get immersed with them. And to this day, I'm still learning what I should have learned as a kid. Who to really appreciate, the Silver Age artists, the Golden Age artists. All that stuff is just like over my head. I mean, people could name drop on me, and I'm like, what? Who? Because I just didn't grow up with that, and all the people in my neighborhood or whatever, we weren't doing that either. We're just in this little ghetto in Oakland. And none of the kids that I knew read comics. It was not like a thing. And I was an only child, so nobody ever brought comics until, like I said, my mom started bringing some home from a friend because he saw some of my work and said, "Hey, looks like he's trying to draw comics."
That's cool. How long did it take you to kind of discover your style or develop your style?
Yeah, that's a tricky one because when I did start really thinking about it, I was under the impression that I guess I need to draw like a Marvel house style or something, and I just could never nail it. And it's just such an evolving style that I still don't have that much confidence in, to be honest. I just keep learning here, learning there, and I don't know. I really don't have to answer that.
Yeah, that's it. Like, I feel like you have a style. Like, I have confidence in your style. If you don't, like, you make a lot of interesting and brave decisions that if you weren't good, like you could never pull off. So I feel like there's definitely something there.
Yeah, there's a mishmash of things going on. It's just that I'm trying to tell a story, and there's a lot of different, I guess, influences. The TV, movies, manga, animation, comics. Obviously, there's just the illustration, design. There's a lot of design aspect to it, and I just kind of keep making it up. I tell you, I changed so much stuff right at the last minute. I mean, I will write out a full script for myself, and yet when I sit down and draw it, I can just completely ignore my entire script that I wrote because I'm thinking, hey man, this is a cool idea. I should go this direction, and it's gotten me in so much trouble.
Yeah.
But it's an evolving style, and I wish I could answer it more appropriately. Like, what real influences and what style am I really working in? I don't know. I just keep moving.
Yeah. Did you ever have kind of a like a group of friends or a community or studio that you worked with? Even online or in person, whichever, however it worked out for you.
Not that we worked with, but for a while there was a group of us in the San Francisco Bay Area that would get together once a month and just socialize and talk about our stuff. But we didn't actually work on art so much. But I mean, Derek, Kim Kirk, and Gene, and there was some cool people in there.
Yeah.
These are guys I used to just hang out with all the time. It's Shepard Hendricks and stuff. We would mostly get together and then sit around and talk. Oh, and Jason Shiga, who is just a
wow.
Jason Shiga, used to hang out with him, and we would mostly talk. I mean, it would move from house to house, these gatherings. The thing is, when we went to Jason's house, we did sit down and draw. Jason had this thing where, hey, we're all together, let's all draw. And everybody would go their kind of little corners, and I guess I have to draw something. But I'm so, I don't know, self-conscious about my art. Like I said, I don't have a true style, and even when I'm at conventions and someone asks me, "Hey, Jimmy, can you draw me a sketch?" I start sweating because I don't know what might come off my pencil, because is it going to be cartoony? Will it be kind of serious? Is it superhero-esque? Is it whatever? And I don't know.
Yeah, the diversity of your work is interesting. Bomb Queens and Five Weapons is probably the easiest comparison to make, because one's very adult and the other is very kid-friendly.
Yeah, that's true. And even Bomb Queen, though, was a little comical, which is why I thought, which is why most people, I think, gives it a pass, as opposed to, I get to be called cheesecake, but it's like they really get that I'm doing it for fun. I'm not really seriously trying to say this is what women look like.
Yeah.
There's some artists who get nailed on, oh, you're just a sexist guy. You're drawing women like blah, blah. But I could draw Bomb Queen, and I've got so many female readers. They come to the table. They love it.
Yeah.
They get it, I guess. And there's a little comic side to it, a little humor side. And it's very over the top. But yeah, I did switch gears for Five Weapons. I really tried to make it look different. I mean, even in how I produce it, it's all pencil. There's no ink, so tried to make it rougher, but that didn't work. I still have a clean line, I guess. but yeah, there's that style. Thing I did with Avagon with Image, that's like manga, like real manga looking. It's like really surreal. You wouldn't even think it was me. Even I look back at it and say, I did this. And then there's Code Blue and Evil and Malice and A Man and Gun. Just a bunch of things. And I kept switching every time. And Five Weapons is just the latest switch.
Are the switches, is it like this story needs this style? Or is it like I have this style and I kind of want to see where it takes me?
No, it's this story needs this style. When I did Evil and Malice, it's kind of like an all-ages book for girls, specifically like girl stuff, like what was, I guess, like Powerpuffs, or people think is primarily for girls. which is not true. I'm just saying it looks.
Yeah.
But when I did Evil and Malice, that was the intent, was to make it look like Saturday morning cartoon, to make it cute and all this stuff, and because that's what I wanted to get across with these two cute girls who were making a mess out of being superheroes, and that was fun. But I I mostly do think of the art has to fit the story first, and then I'll go after the story. So that's where I am with that.
So it's kind of a broad question, but like, when you made the decision to do Five Weapons, like, where did that come from? Was it kind of an answer to the work you'd been doing in Bomb Queen? You were like, okay, I've done like this really kind of raunchy satire stuff, and now I want to do something earnest and straightforward.
A little bit, I mean, but actually, Bomb Queen's an anomaly. I mean, that's out of all the work I've done, Bomb Queen is the one that's, well, most people know me for it because I've done it for so many years.
Yeah.
But Bomb Queen's really, out of my body of work, the one that should be, this is not like the others.
Yeah.
But with Five Weapons, there was some of that. I do want to do something different because Tyler Shane Line, who works at Image Comics, and I were talking at the 20th anniversary of Image at the Cartoon Art Museum in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And we're just talking, and he's like, man, I like comics to be fun. What happened to the fun in comics? Because we were just talking about, some current comics, and they're all like gritty, dark,
very
crime,
miserable,
bloody, everything. And I'm like, yeah, what happened to good fun comics? And I'm thinking, wait a minute, I'm doing Bomb Queen right now. I'm not contributing to this. So that was kind of the impetus, but I also had Five Weapons already in my head. Mm-hmm. It's just I was doing Bomb Queen at the time. And Five Weapons, it springs off of an old Buddhist myth fable about Prince Five Weapons, who was, I think, one of the incarnations of the Buddha or whatever, for those subscribe to all that. It was just a guy who learned about using these five deadly weapons or whatnot, and he goes out in the forest and runs across this monster, and all his weapons fail him. And it wasn't until he used his head how to defeat the monster, to trick the monster or defeat it or whatever you want to call it, that he won. And that's pretty much where I got the idea from this old fable. And I mean, you can read into it. Did he trick him, or did he, was it a spiritual thing, or however one wants to read into it? That's them. But I wanted to use it because it was about using your mind instead of depending on your weapons, and that's what I wanted to get across to the readers. Not to be didactic about it or anything. I just wanted to show that side of it, because most comics are about brawn over brain. It is mostly about beating. Yeah,
it's very either or.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of books out there where they do both. They figure something out and then they go beat somebody up because they figured it out, or they figured out how to beat somebody up, figure out their weak spot, and they that's where they hit them. But I just wanted to do something different, and Five Weapons was a good vehicle for it.
So you do a lot of conventions, or at least I've seen you at several conventions, maybe because I'm local. But what's that experience like for you? Like, are you fond of being behind the table and just shilling books all weekend?
I am. I totally love conventions, and I'll just, when I go to a convention, that's all I do. Mm-hmm. I went to New York last year, and I didn't even see New York. I just went to New York Comic Con. That's from there to the hotel and back. Maybe to a restaurant and back. I will be chained to my table, and I don't even get to see the convention floor much or anything. I just like being there. I like talking with fans and doing sketches and stuff like that. And, a lot of times my wife gets on my case because a lot of times I just draw sketches for people, for free. And, they're there, and they think they're supposed to pay me. I'm like, no, dude, just go. It's fine. I mean, you got a sketchbook.
Yeah.
Whatever. If someone's going to ask for a real elaborate piece and they bring, this Bristol board and all that, and I'll charge for that. But mostly people have, the black bound sketchbook, that they get sketches from all these people, and I'm like, fine, it's not a big deal for me. So yeah, I like conventions. I like the community, and I like the industry involvement. And I used to do panels. I haven't done panels in a long time.
Is that something you miss doing?
Yeah, I do. It's just I'm kind of weird on panels because a lot of times the topics are for teams. You know, the writer, the artist, the inker, the color, and I just do my book all myself. I do everything. So I'm not like, I mean, I can still answer questions based on the writer side of it, but then, you know, I'll talk about how I'll change what I wrote because I'm also the artist. So I kind of like defeat my own question. So it's kind of weird that way, but I do miss them, and you know, I just haven't been on one in a while, and I don't know. I don't know what I can really contribute, but I try to inspire people to get up and create their own content, because people keep asking me, so how do you break in, or how do you do it, or whatever. And, you know, every creator has their own answers. There's no one answer. So
And I think someone said that once someone breaks in using one method, then that method is closed forever.
That might be so. Well, my thing I've always said was that it's not all that hard to break into comics. It's hard to stay in comics. So I mean, there's a lot of avenues for, you know, self-publishing. You can just do stuff online. You can do, you know, Comixology Submit. You can do a Kickstarter. You can do print on demand. You can just make your own zine and go to like Ape or some other alternative press thing. You know, you can do consignment directly with your local retailer. There's all kind of ways to, you know, get your book on a shelf. It's just hard as hell to keep doing it and to be viable, and, you know, and to make it work. I would think that's some of the real difference between those who, you know, weekend warriors and those who really make a career out of it.
So is it, when you talk of staying in comics, is it keeping your own confidence and production up, or working with someone, or like actually just staying in the industry itself, like sticking with a publisher or that kind of thing?
Yeah, that's going to be a different answer for every individual, what they want out of comics. Because for some people, they have a pretty narrow idea of what they think comics is. They think it's, you know, Marvel, DC, Image, Dark Horse. That's, you know, that's their comic industry.
Yeah.
But there's, you know, but if you step back, the way I like to look at it, the comic industry is extremely wide. You know, it's just on so many different levels, and there's all these different stages that you could step in at. Of course, we'd all like to step in at the highest level.
Of course.
but that's, you know, I think the definition is different for everyone, what they want out of that, you know, out of that question. So I can't speak for anyone else, but I don't know.
I guess, well, for you specifically, like, what does staying in comics mean for you?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, specifically, it means being viable. It means having a product that supports itself. Because I could do a book and it just won't sell, and then, you know, I could still do the book even though it's like in the red or something. But I don't want to do books that are in the red. So I because I have a publisher, Image, and I don't want Image to. Well, you know, for the Image model, if your book's in the red, it's out anyway. It has to be viable that way. And I like making books that people read in whatever little niche I'm trying to create. If I could do that, I feel I'm still in comics, you might say.
Yeah.
I mean, the money may not be great. Sometimes the money's great, sometimes the money isn't great. But as long as I'm, I guess, still... how could I say it?
Like, still putting stuff out, it seems like still making things that people want to read.
Yeah, that's true. It's still, but then I can do that, and it could be junk, you know.
Yeah.
Or something. There's always, you know, especially nowadays in this the internet age. There's always a community out there for no matter what you're doing, no matter what you're drawing.
Yeah.
There's 10 people who want to read that. So I'm trying to reach a wider, and I have to consider the retailers. I'm always concerned about the retailers. So when I mean viable, I mean retailers order your books and they're stuck with them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like, hey, I'm just going to play around with this crazy idea that, maybe 10 people will buy. I need more people to buy because I want retailers to have confidence in me. So then they order my books more, or they order the next switch of gears that I'm going to do in the future. So that's, when I mean viable, I guess I mean on all cylinders.
Okay.
Across publisher, retailer, fan, and what I want to do as well, and conventions and all that stuff.
Okay.
That at least at this point in my career, there was a time when I would just, I would eat dirt. I don't care. I was as long as I get a book in there. But those days are kind of over now. Now that I'm, at a point where I could do something and really try and do something different. That's where I am with viability, you might say.
Okay. You leave comments and things online pretty often, which is kind of interesting because I feel like a lot of comics creators don't.
Really?
Yeah, it's one of those things where people feel like if they're the loud ones, then it will reflect on their work, or like they might get not picked for a job or something.
That's true. I've been in trouble plenty of times.
But so, what do you just do it just because you feel like you can add to the conversation, and damn the consequences?
It depends on the piece.
Mm-hmm.
In particular, there was a CBR piece I did a long time ago. Are You Helping Comics? I think it was called something like that. Mm-hmm. And CBR actually wanted they wanted me to be the Howard Stern. They said, "Hey man, let's be a little punchy here if you want." And they weren't saying, "Hey, go be controversial."
Yeah.
But they said, "Hey, you can do whatever you want, even if you want to do that." And I bid at it. I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll put myself out there." And that was me doing it. It wasn't CBR, trust me.
Yeah.
They just gave me the option, and I took it. Other times, I do speak up because I think I have something to say, but I also kind of just want to be the devil's advocate sometimes because there's so much one-sided view of comics a lot of times. Mm-hmm. Like I said before, that a lot of people think the comic industry is just so many publishers and that's it. Or, if you're not making a book on this level, you're not making a comic, and that's not true. And so sometimes I speak up because of that. And yeah, it could get me in trouble. I remember speaking up about Blue Water publisher. A lot of people hate Blue Water, but I've defended them in the past because I'm like, well, who else is doing autobio comics? I'd understand if I had a choice. Right now, I don't even have a choice. So if they want to do, Pope Francis comic or Martha Stewart comic, I'm going to have to say, hey, good for them because no one else is doing it. Yeah, I mean, I'd understand if they made a lousy version of the Martha Stewart comic as opposed to somebody else, but that's not happening. So I got to speak up. I say, hey, man, don't rip on them. They're doing it. And I will always give credit to somebody who does it. People come to my table at conventions a lot, and they're showing me art and all that. And one of the questions I often ask is, when did you draw this? And sometimes they say, oh, yeah, I drew that like 3 years ago. I'm like, dude, you're not doing it right now. You did something, whatever. But, yeah. I always give credit to those. I mean, it doesn't have to be great, but the fact is somebody brings me a 22-page completed book.
It's a lot of work.
They did it. Sure, they might need to work on backgrounds or characters or foreshadowing or something or the lettering or the whatever. I still always give them credit. Dude, you sat down, you thought it through, you did an entire product. You get higher ranks than this guy who did like 5 different pictures that are really gorgeous. But you did a book. Yeah. You did 5 gorgeous pictures. And so that gets me in trouble sometimes because I want to speak up like that. I will make comments, but I don't go off the deep end. I hope I'm not.
No, you always seem really, I guess measured is the word. Like you've put some thought into it.
I try, and like I said, I just try to be the devil's advocate, and I do try to see things from 2 sides. Like I think the Powerpuff Girls cover came up recently, and I spoke on that, and I was just kind of looking at it from both sides. I told people, hey, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, it does look kind of weird. It might be a little creepy for this whatever sexing up these all ages characters, whatever. But I look at it the flip side. Cartoon Network hired her. That's the artist's style, and it doesn't mean that it's always for little girls.
Mm-hmm.
Just like just like My Little Ponies is watched by a lot of men.
Yeah.
Adventure Time. You can go down the list of cartoons that are just appreciated by college kids and up. And hey, Powerpuff the same way. They had a lot of adult audiences that really liked it. It was just a different version. I was, whatever. But yeah, I will speak up. I'll say this and that. But
yeah, I do think the two sides is often missing in comics, like you were saying. I'm definitely guilty of it myself, because you kind of, like, you come to a conclusion, and then, like, that's your conclusion. Like, you just stick with it.
Yeah.
And without someone saying, hey, what about, this thing you might have forgot about?
Yeah, exactly. That is the case, and I'll be wrong. I'll fess up if I'm wrong. I've apologized more than once.
Yeah.
Because I've said something too early. That's been my problem, David. Is that sometimes I'll speak up, but I should wait. Because before you know it, there's Kurt Busiek saying something, and there's all these other people saying something. I'm like, oh man, I put my foot in it, and these guys got it right, and I got it.
Yeah,
that's kind of important. But yeah, I will say something, and I will, just not only in comments, but in my work as well. I try to do something that if I don't see it on the shelf, I'm trying to do it.
Yeah,
I did Bomb Queen because I just didn't see any villain books. There's some villain books out there, but they were pretty much, the standard superhero, ex-hero turned villain or bad childhood or misguided or whatever. There was no true villain books out there, which was a complete polar opposite of the hero book. And so that's why I did Bomb Queen. And, that was another thing where I was kind of making my voice about, I'm going to have a villain, and they're going to win every time.
And it seems like it worked. I mean, there's like 3 of those fat hardcovers. You worked on it for a long time.
Yeah, 4 of them. Yeah, they're.
The 4th came out?
Yeah, all 4 deluxe volumes came out, and there was a hardback before that, and 8 volumes of that in trades, and 30 some odd issues. That's just almost 30 issues, I should say, and it did work.
Yeah.
but it was one of those things where a lot of people got what they wanted out of it. It was almost a cautionary tale that I was trying to get out there, but I'll get people to come up and they're like, I love Bomb Queen. You should have her, blow up Sarah Palin or something. And I try to get it across, and I'm like, dude, she would love Sarah Palin. You're not getting it. She's the villain. Of course she likes Sarah Palin. Why would she kill Sarah Palin? or fill in the blank, whatever. So, everyone got what they wanted. And some people came up to me, and they completely got it. But some people only wanted to see the TNA and forget all the story I was writing.
Yeah.
It was weird. But as the creator, I can only do what I do and put it out there, and it's not up to me to tell the reader how to read it, how to interpret it. That's something every creator should understand, that no matter what they put out there, it's out there. It's gone. It's kind of the end of it on my side of the stick.
Yeah. So I saw you talking recently that you've been in comics for 20 years now, since 94?
That's correct, 94.
So I mean, I don't want to make it sound like that's a long time, but I mean that's longer than I've done anything in my entire life. Like, how does that feel to, just to have this job and for that to be your thing?
That's true, and to clear it up, it wasn't always my sole job. I mean, I'd say 2005. I'd say 2005 it became kind of my sole job. So it's not that long, but I mean, but when I say that, I mean, my day job at the time was just really this tiny little. It was supplementary.
Yeah.
I wasn't depending on that as much as I was. The comics were still doing pretty. Doing okay in my circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until 2005 or so that I said, you know what? I don't even need this other day. I don't know why I'm still there. And I was just helping out. Really, I was helping out friends is what I was doing. And my wife even got on my case lately because I would go and help them and not even charge them or anything. It's like, I don't need to charge them anything. but yeah, how does it feel after 20 years from self-publishing? That's when I consider that it all started, because I was self-publishing in 1994 and my books were, sold like everyone else. I was literally in my books sitting next to X-Men and other books. It feels weird. It doesn't feel like 20 years, and because I've switched gears so many times, I don't feel like I've made a significant impact. Like Stan Sakai has done Usagi Yojimbo, for like 20 some odd years.
Yeah, like 130 issues.
Yeah, he's done 25 years. And, Eric Larson has done Savage Dragon for like, major years. And that to me is an impact. They have an extreme body, huge body of work with this particular title that they, that you can pin on them. And I just don't have that. I've been swinging at bat for 20 years at all these different books, genres, and styles, and I don't have any one thing they say, oh, well, I mean, Bomb Queen, I guess, is the one that's lasted the longest, but now I've moved away from it. So, God, I tell you, Dave, I get asked every month, so when are you going to go back to Bomb Queen? So, yeah, I will get back to Bomb Queen. I'll probably do a one-shot special or something. But right now I'm switching gears to 5 weapons. But, yeah, it just feels weird. I think last year at San Diego Comic-Con, Heidi McDonald from The Beat, talked to me, in a little podcast interview. And she was doing the same thing. She's like, "So you're an icon," and I'm like, "No, not even on what you're talking about." But it feels weird. That's what I put it. I feel like I think like I wrote in that piece you're referring to, like a survivor more than anything else.
Yeah.
And I've just endured, and I don't know if that's a business model a lot of people want to hear.
But it's true at the same time. It's kind of the nature of creative work that you kind of have to, not everything is going to be a hit.
That's very true. I think there was one book I did for Image called Code Blue, which was a hospital drama. It was the equivalent of ER or Grey's Anatomy or whatever. I mean, that's all it was. Seriously, there's no monsters, no zombies, no nothing. It was just a straight-out drama, romance, whatever. And it only lasts 1 issue.
Wow.
I pulled it because they said, "Hey, Jimmy, so where's the next issue?" I'm like, you know what? This is not going to work. I mean, the sales were really bad on it and all that. But that was, what you were just saying. There's I attempted something and I just, not all of them are going to work. And that one, I pulled the plug on myself. Other times, Evil and Malice was supposed to be 4 issues, and it got truncated to 3 because the sales were not going to allow the 4th issue to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And then, no, I guess that's it. Everything else has kind of worked. Well, the T. Runt book I did for Jim Valentino, that was from his Silverline division. He was making actual children's books, not comic books, but,
Mm-hmm.
He was actually trying to break into the book market, which was great. And I did that book. That book, yeah, it got made, but I doubt there'll ever be a sequel to that. A couple anthologies here and there that other people worked on. But yeah, I've been the bat a lot of times, swinging at that same ball. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to say that I've gotten base hits, maybe a double, but I've never had a home run.
Okay.
I kind of say I'm on the team. I'm published by Image and whatnot. I should say specifically Shadowline to be precise there. so I'm on the team, but yeah, I'm no Brian K. Vaughan or anything like that. I'm not knocking home runs when I get up the plate. I'm just the dependable guy who keeps getting on base.
Yeah, which is still like that's still vital.
It is. It can. Yes. It is vital, and I won't poo-poo on that too much. I just kind of it does feel kind of I will say it does feel kind of weird after 20 years and your best books, I don't say your best book, but whatever books you're doing, they're ranking in the 5-6K nowadays.
Yeah.
They're like really down there, and I think it was the very last 2 issues of Bomb Queen, I actually fell off the top 300 for the first time.
Wow.
That top 300 list that they put out every month. Yeah. And I was going like, I'm not even on the top 300 list. I'm like, wow, things have changed. And it's one of those things where, yeah, it feels kind of weird that I've been doing it for 20 years and a small segment of the industry knows me okay. But I'm not, I mean, when my very first Image book, Amanda and Gunn, when Jim Valentino was president, that did, fairly well for a black and white book. I was really impressed. And, silly me, after 4 issues of that and I wrapped up the story arc, I'm like, hey, I want to do something different now. It's like, I had a great start. The industry received it well. They liked it and all this stuff. And then people were like, hey, this is all right, Jimmy, blah, blah. I'm like, hey, I'm going to do something else now. And it's just like, Jim Valentino could just, sit there and say, okay, what else you want to do then? But to Valentino's credit, he always lets the creator make those calls.
Yeah,
even if I'm making
face is amazing.
Yeah, even if I make a stupid call, Valentino say, hey, man, I'm warning you, I'm letting you know, but you are the creator of the book.
So do you want, like, you mostly worked in, like, Finite Works or, like Bomb Queen, I think was the longest. Do you want to do, like, a Savage Dragon? Is that something that you're aiming for at some point, or is it just something that you can do if you chose to do it?
Yeah, I think it's the latter. I can do it if I want to, but I will admit I started with Image again with Valentino with the limited series format. That's I've been doing limited series since, Yeah. So I've always thought, well, this is the most I could really do, kind of a thing. But I could do an all ongoing if I wanted to, but I didn't think I was ever offered until just recently.
Yeah.
Said, dude, just keep going with this. We like it. But yeah, I've because I always thought the Image model was you come here and you do it. You do what you do
Yeah.
as the creator, and if it works, it works, and you have as the creator the option to leave it. And Shadowline in the early days did work on the model of we only do miniseries because Valentino loves diversity.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to get as many things out there as possible that's not superhero related. He created what was called the non-line back in the 1990s,
mm-hmm.
and I was part of that because he was just trying to create a non-superhero line. And but nowadays the Image model is exactly that.
Yeah.
Because in the 90s it was all about Spawn and Savage Dragon and Wildcats and all this stuff. It was it was all superhero all the time, and Jim Valentino wanted to use his clout as an Image partner to bring something new to the table. And I was part of that when he started the non-line. And I've just been with that mode ever since. That I'm going to do another miniseries, and I get you know what, you're right. I just kind of always thought that's what I could do, but I've always had in the back of my head, yeah, I could do an ongoing if I wanted, but I've always wondered if it was the right thing, the right ongoing.
Interesting.
Because I didn't have a Savage Dragon or an Invincible or something like that. 5 Weapons I feel can, have that potential. I've already written out like 20 issue story arc for it.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it may not make it there because the sales are really low on it right now, but I still thought, and I think that's the real key is that when you think you're going to do it, and you actually do it, you skeleton key out, 20 issue arc. That means you know what you're doing, and that's what you want to try and do.
Yeah.
And before I had not done that. Before it was less. I can tell a beginning, middle, end in 4 issues. Sure.
So it's kind of like setting expectations for yourself in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And I just said, yeah, I can. Of course I can. It was when I did 5 Weapons last year, it was 5 issues, and I was done. I really thought I was going to have to come up with the next pitch to give Valentino.
Mm-hmm.
But around issue 3 or 4, he told me to just keep going and all that, and I had to rework some of the ending and all that, and then of course think about the larger picture, because it needs to be. I always think in my mind that a good ongoing series is character driven more than plot driven. I mean, of course, there's still plot, but you need to have some solid characters that people will follow no matter what's going on.
Yeah.
Like The Walking Dead. It doesn't matter. You're following those characters because you have a vested interest in what happens to them, no matter what's going to happen. And same thing with Batman and Spider-Man and all that stuff. So, I had to really come up with the concept in my mind that I'm going to create good characters. And that's what's evolving for me, because I have been a concept-driven, plot-driven guy for so long. That's my challenge right now with 5 Weapons. Yeah.
Well, cool. So can you tell us where to find you online and what you have going on right now, work-wise?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. Jimmie Robinson at Jimmie. Yeah, it's all Jimmie Robinson Twitter. There's Tumblr, Jimmie Robinson Tumblr. There's Jimmie Robinson Facebook. I use my real name. I don't. Jimmie. You can find me that way. What I'm doing now, there's obviously 5 Weapons. But I'm also doing some work for a museum in Norway right now. They asked me to do an installation of 2 pieces that you walk between, which shows 2 sides of a conflict.
Wow.
This museum in Norway is a war museum. It's one of the original places where heavy water was manufactured for like atomic weapons and whatnot. And so they have these war museums there that talks about conflicts throughout the ages and all that, specifically in World War II. And they're keeping up with the modern format of today's military conflicts and whatnot. And they called me up and asked me to do, if I wanted to do a comic book style representation of 2 sides of a conflict. So we have like the Western powers, I guess Europe, of course, USA,
Yeah.
and all that, and our military might and all that, versus the other side. And I need to justify, hey, why did we do this?
Mm-hmm.
And then I have to show the other side, which is, I guess we have to say the Middle East or whatever. And why did they do that? Because everybody's, terrorist is another person's hero.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to, on one side, I need to justify why somebody puts on a suicide vest or does terrorist attacks against another country. And on the other side, I need to show, all the Western powers and their justification for, they're attacking our freedoms or whatever, and the other side saying they attacked us first, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, and the curator over there, I guess he's a fan of Bomb Queen because he likes my work. He said. and I guess because I took the villain side in Bomb Queen, that he said, here's a guy who sees it from both sides.
Wow.
And so they commissioned me to do this installation, which will be, I guess, April, May. It'll be up over there.
Will there be like an online component? Like, can we see this thing? That's my real question.
Well, this is another time where, like you were saying, I make comments. I mean, here I might get in trouble.
Yeah.
Because here I'm going to justify terrorism on one side. I'm going to say, because at first I was thinking, sure, I could do all this, but then I'm like, no, I have to really justify both sides.
Yeah.
I can't, criticize America. I have to make America look right.
Yeah.
This is why we did this, and then I have to do the same for the other side. I'm going to scan it, and of course I have all the the art and everything, I need to talk to them if I can do that, because I don't know if I can show it online.
Yeah, maybe after the exhibit or something like that.
Exactly. So, and of course, I hope they're going to send me pictures and everything. They want it to be something you walk through. So it's going to be blown up really large into this kind of a wallpaper thing, and you walk through this two sides, and you judge on your own what you think is right.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. So I'm trying to give that a spin and give it a kind of a comic booky spin, because they want some superhero imagery in there as well.
Yeah.
So, I've got this patriotic hero or whatever, in this pose with the salute and all that, and the American flag, and a real pro-war stance there.
All the good stuff.
Good stuff. So that's what I'm working on now, besides 5 weapons, and I'm just keeping it at that point. I've even reduced the amount of conventions I'm going to, because I'm getting behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I am now.
Well, awesome. Thanks for talking with me.
No problem.